to Matka Chai, the 34th episode. We have been having a lot of wonderful guests coming in regularly and speaking to us on many aspects of life and arts, of course. So today we have the pleasure of having Salmin Sheriff. Salmin, welcome to Matka Chai at the final side.
Thank you, Prithvi. Thank you for having me.
Yes. So, Matkacha is basically a platform online to be present online because a lot of people said today, whatever venture you start, you need to do something online. There has to be a presence. Uh, and I did not want to get into teaching arts online because I understand that a lot of people in the world have taken to it. But somehow I feel teaching arts is energy. Energy comes from people being together, and I'm sure you will tell us more about it, especially in the theater fraternity, how the energy changes people and what they know. So, fairly to just update in terms of what the finer side is, we have a small video that we will play a little later. But for now, yes, uh, let's start with this is a very general chat and conversation, so though no particular agenda, so you can feel free to say what you want, do what you want. What we are
Sure.
looking at is just to understand your journey of where you came from, what you did, and how did you end up in theater. So let's start from the beginning. Parents, where were you? What did you do? Your schooling and college, all yours.
Yeah, so my parents were in a place called Doha. That's in the Gulf. And in those days,
Yep.
there weren't many schools there. There were some teachers teaching out of, villas and homes. There were Arabic schools, a couple of government schools. So we were sent to a place called Panjgani. Panjgani is a
Okay.
hill station near Pune. It's a beautiful place, and it was famous for schools. People would
Yep.
have heard of Mahabaleshwar, which is like a sister hill station, close to Panchgani, like a twin hill station. And so Panchgani was, school was great. They kind of, academics, sports, extracurricular activities like theater, music was all quite quite nicely distributed. We had to actually participate in almost everything. And
Nice.
then being in
Yeah.
a boarding school, you're right there. You're living there, so you can't really escape or bunk much of it.
Yeah.
So in fact, we used to have theater regularly, uh, different languages also: English, Hindi, Marathi, Gujarati.
Oh,
So we had a very diverse, you know, because it was in a place called like Panchgani, which is away from any particular city or town. There were people from all over the place. In fact, all over the globe as well.
okay.
We had foreign students, we had Indian students from all over India, different languages. So it was quite diverse that way. Uh, so theater was, yeah, pretty strong. We used to also, our principal used to also make us listen to Shakespearean plays on LPs. We had
Yeah.
records in
Yeah.
those days.
Yeah. Yeah.
Actually, I
Yeah.
have quite a few of them here at home.
Oh, nice. Yeah.
Tapes and records of Shakespearean plays. So we would read them in class. We had Shakespeare in school, and then we got to listen to those famous actors like Richard Burton and all. Uh, say those dialogues on those LPs. So it was quite motivational and stuff. We used to do also local plays in Gujarati and Marathi and all that. It was good fun.
But you knew the
Then
languages, so you had to learn the languages.
well, actually, we knew a bit of it because, like Marathi, for example, a lot of the staff spoke Marathi. We had a lot of Gujarati students from Bombay and Gujarat and all that. Predominantly, it was, a lot of Gujaratis and Marathis were there. So they would
It's probably
speak that
easy to
language.
pick up because of being a student and living in that community.
Correct, yeah.
Yeah.
So it was pretty good. At least we could understand that. And the people whose first language was Marathi, they were cast in the main roles, and the
Yeah.
rest were cast in. So it was like that. So, I would do Hindi plays or English plays, and also do Marathi and Gujarati in smaller roles,
Yeah.
kind of stuff. Yeah. So that was there. The exposure was there from that age. Then came to Christ College in Bangalore, studied here. Then I went off to Doha to join my dad in business. But I would also come and go to Bangalore. And every time I came to Bangalore, so in the like kind of late 80s, started theatre here as well. Uh, I would go to Dubai and come back, or Doha and come back, and stay here for a few years and do theatre. And that's when, yeah. So my brother was already doing theatre here. My younger brother, Sarosh, he used to do a lot of plays with Jagdish and Runa Raja.
Yeah. At
The
Jagrati. Yeah.
Jagrati, yeah,
No. Yeah.
they had a group called Art. So there were a few groups. BLT was there. Mahesh Dattani was there. Mahesh had just started writing also, and Mahesh had started a group called Playpen.
Playpen. Yeah.
Yeah, and I was one of the founder members of Playpen
Playpen.
with him.
Okay.
So he started Playpen, then I joined him. Ashish was there. Ashish Sen,
Ashish Sen.
Munira was there. So we were a small group of friends who got together, and so in those days, a lot of theatre that was happening in the English language was mostly Western plays, either Brit or American plays, and great plays. All of us used to do some great plays, but relevant to our audiences, as so. So you're there, and plays are kind of outdated. Also, a lot of them were. You're wearing costumes that doesn't relate to your the present scenario here where you are, and you're also saying dialogues that are really kind of outdated.
Yeah.
So we said, look, let's start doing something for our Indian audiences, and we have so much of subject here. India is such a complex place, and there's so much happening here. So we started writing plays and also doing plays that were, like regional plays that were translated in English, like Tendulkar or Elch Kunchwar, and all the other playwrights, the Indian playwrights were there. So we started doing that, and we did really well. And then Mahesh was writing, then I wrote a few plays myself. Uh, we had very few auditoriums in those days. So there was a lovely auditorium called Yavanika.
Yeah.
Yavanika was like I think it was a 300 seater, which
Yeah.
was
About two.
the
About
youth,
250. Yeah. Yeah.
250, yeah, in those days, and very intimate little place next to opposite Matha's hospital, next to the
Yeah. Yeah.
Reserve
We've
Bank.
done a couple of events there from the YMCA.
Okay, and it was also very cheap. It was like I think 500 rupees for a
Yeah.
day or something in those days. This was in the late 80s and all that. And yeah, tickets were priced at like some 10 rupees and 20 rupees in those days, and we used to have housefuls, which was we had a good theatre crowd in those days. And it's surprising because now with so much happening here with IT and so many companies here and such a big population in Bangalore, we don't have that many theatre goers as I would have expected. You
Yeah.
know, we still have the old faithful theatre goers and a little bit of spill from the IT. Very few here,
I think it's
surprisingly.
also
So
probably a good debate to do someday in terms of why there
yeah,
is so less. Is it because of more entertainment options online?
yeah, and I guess also I think the IT crowds are also there are different audience. They're more into stand-up comedies.
Yeah.
The attention span is shorter. They don't want to think too much. They keep
Yeah.
saying, "Arey, we don't want to get into all that thinking." We stress out from work. We come out. We want a little bit of entertainment. They're mostly on their devices. You know,
Correct. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
watching either OTT or other kinds of entertainment, YouTube and whatever. So for them, I think also you see venue wise, If you go to Rangashankara, people from that side of town, it's a long drive. They have to take a risk of coming all the way. And if they're
And
late, by
similarly, Chaudhaya on the other side.
yeah, they are Jagriti in Whitefield.
Yeah,
And if you're late by a few minutes, the door's shut. So it's a stuff also called. So
yeah.
they, and I maybe get weekends they want to chill out doing something else. I don't know. So yeah, so that's another thing people struggle with getting audiences. Unless like Rangashankar, you'll still get a decent crowd in Rangashankar compared to Jagriti. I guess because
Yeah.
of the distances and all that.
And also because of the
Uh,
kind of population around Rangashankar.
yeah, correct.
Yeah.
Also, Rangashankar has become a landmark.
Yeah, it's a hub. It's a art hub
Yeah,
now. Yeah,
yeah. So everybody there knows. You ask the chaiwala or any guy, they know
yeah, yeah,
Rangashankar, Yelli, they'll point, he'll
yeah,
point out.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
So
yeah.
so it's become a landmark. Yeah. So yeah, so we were doing theatre, and Chaudhaya was rare, like because it was like 30,000 rupees in those days, compared to 500 rupees in Yavanika or 1500 rupees in Guru Nanak Bhavan.
Yeah.
So that was a lot of money. Unless it was a Deccan Herald, the yearly theatre
Theatre
festival,
festival. Yeah,
or somebody big corporate sponsors you, which rarely used to happen. It rarely happens now also.
yeah.
So yeah, that was the thing. So we did a lot of plays. Like for example, it was not only Indian plays. We also did plays like we did a play called Fate of a Cockroach, which was written by a very famous Egyptian playwright called Tawfiq Al Hakim. I did that a few years ago again at Rangashankara and Jagriti. It was really well received. So it was because something different again. But there was a connect between all those playwrights. There's something that connects to the audience. Something which is very common
So
emotionally.
one of the things that while I was speaking to you the other day and we were talking about theater and how you took me to your town back at Doha and back in the Gulf where you had the opportunity to meet a lot of theater artists, youngsters, create
Yeah.
workshops, do things. Tell us about that because yes, here we are very familiar what's happening, but with your experience and what you have seen there, I think our viewers would love to know how the setup is there and how things happen there.
Yeah. So I was in Dubai for quite a few years, and Dubai has a theater. It's quite active in theater. Local theater, there's lots of it. They have their own local Gulf theater, what they call a Khaliji theater. They also have, a lot of groups coming into Dubai performing and going from the Arab world.
Okay.
Also from India, like the groups from Bombay and India keep coming regularly, but mostly they're entertain. They're like comedies and stuff like that because that's what the crowds they want, the expat crowds they want. But locally, there are a few groups. There were a few groups. There was a Brit group doing like BLT is here. They're an old British group there
Yeah.
called the Dubai Drama Group, I think they were called, and nothing much other was happening in the Indian this thing. So I think Amol Palikar's brother had come there and set up something. I think
Okay.
even Kader Khan had come and he was also he got involved. He was living in Dubai for some time, but that was there for some time. That was mostly I think in Hindi. I'm not sure if it was also in Marathi. But in the English language, nobody was doing anything.
Okay.
So what happened was I was called once to judge a collegiate intercollegiate theatre festival, and so I went for it. And after that, I spoke to most of the students that came to talk to me and all. And there's a group of predominantly Indian students. There were also Pakistani students and different from different nationalities there who were part of the same clique. And they came and said, "Look, we want to continue doing theatre after college. We don't know what to do and how to go about it. So college, maybe we did that college thing, but how do we make it work after college? So And then they also registered a group called Backstage.
Backstage. Okay.
Backstage. So, but they were doing these small plays, and stuff like that. Also, venues are expensive in Dubai. So Dubai is a very commercial place. So there's a 200-seater black box theater, an auditorium, which is in a mall. They call the Mall of the Emirates, and that is like, for example, 1,500 dirhams. No, sorry, it was much more than that. Yeah, it was much more than that. It was like a lakh of rupees or something, if you
Wow.
convert it.
Yeah.
Yeah. And there was another auditorium with much more than that, which was a little bigger auditorium, like 500-600 seater. Now these college kids couldn't afford that.
Yeah. Obviously. Yeah.
So I was also doing business there. I was doing business in Dubai. I had a advertising agency. We were brothers who were running this business, and we also were into tourism. So I had a lot of contacts because of the business, being in the business community. So I also happened to know somebody who was part of the mall, the Emirates Mall. So I spoke to them, and then I said, and I also met somebody who was one of the trustees of the auditorium and stuff like that. So I had a chat with them, and because of my theater background, I said, look, can we do some plays here? We can't afford to pay you, uh, you know, uh, the rentals because it's very expensive. We'll do these plays. These are my credentials, and then we'll split the gate money. And they said, fine,
Great.
let's do it. And I said, we'll make sure like we'll get you housefull audiences.
Okay. Nice.
And housefull was
Interesting.
like
Yeah.
200 people, and so I decided to do two Hindi plays because
Okay.
Hindi is there are a lot of Indian expats
A
there.
lot of common language. Yeah. Yeah.
And Pakistanis also speak Hindi, Bangladeshis
Yeah.
also
Yeah.
speak
Yeah.
Hindi. They're a big thing. So we said, let's do two Hindi plays. A lot of people will come. So we had like 4 or 5 houseful shows. So we made some good, decent money on that. And then we used that money to then invest in the next play, rehearsals and auditioning, and sets and props and production costs and all that. And from there we took off. And then also when we would call out for casting of a new play because we had just started. We were shocked because there were like hundreds of people applying to be cast. All the Indian expats that had done theater when they were in college. And they were
Wow.
all saying 20 years, 30 years, we haven't done anything. We want to do something. So we said, come, let's do this, So we started casting people. We also started, it was English. So we started casting from different nationalities, multinational casting. So we had people from Africa, different countries. We had people from Philippines and Singapore and Malaysia and, different places, Europe. Uh, so we had a mix of cast, and our audiences are also mixed in Dubai. It's a very multinational, diverse audience, and it really worked beautifully.
And you
And
were
we didn't
telling me
care.
those what, like the hangers that were there, or the
Yeah. So also
uh,
Dubai had this industrial area which was very much in the heart of the city, uh, and then the authorities decided to move the industrial area and the warehousing and logistic places outside of town. So once they were moved out, the empty warehouses started getting converted into art places,
wow, interesting. Yeah.
art studios and for painting exhibitions and painting studio galleries and stuff and cafes and all that. And then the government got interested and they started encouraging that. And so there are a lot of these spaces. So I had a few friends who had art galleries there. And there was also a metro that came up right next to it, where people could get off and walk to all these places.
Oh,
Yeah, so I said, look, why don't we do these short plays in your galleries after your close? Like they close at about 6:30 or something. So 7:30, we'll come and put up a play for an hour, and whatever short plays, two plays of 30 minutes each, and you'll have our clients or our database coming in there and maybe get interested in art as well. and your database can come and watch our plays, so we can
Play
have that
also. Yeah.
exchange. And that worked beautifully. So we just had to carry a couple of lights. They had a few lights, pretty decent light. We just had to turn them around, away from the paintings and towards the
Yeah.
actors. And we had to just do a decent sound system there. And it was for like capacity was like 70 to 80, 100 people.
So how many years were you part of this there?
I was there for like 4 or 5 years. I did some stuff, and then I had to come back to India. And I came back in 2012. My mother wasn't keeping well,
That's
so I had to
about
come
10
back.
years ago. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, time really flies. And then now backstage, the group that we started, and so I was also
For
doing workshops
students.
for
Yeah.
them. Yeah,
Yeah.
to
The
train them. So
students you mentioned. Yeah.
I did actor workshops. I did writing workshops. Voice. Different workshops for them, so that they get started and production and how to handle production and stuff like that. Today, backstage have their own auditorium in the same place in the art center there, in Alcos. They have a 200-seater
Wow.
black box auditorium.
Grown.
They own it. They own it, and they also rent it out
Wow.
when they're
Amazing.
not doing plays or rehearsing. Yeah, so it was amazing. Yeah. So yeah, then I came back to Bangalore, and I so I was talking to Ashish Sen, and Ashish was then doing a play for Jagriti, called Death and the Maiden,
Yeah.
where it was a three-cast play, and Jagdish, Jagu, and Runa Arundhati Raja, they were playing the other two parts. And Ashish said, "When are you coming?" I said, "I'm coming on this date." He said, "Can you come a bit earlier? I've got a role for you." And I said, "Great, I'd love to, you know, do something in Bangalore after so many years." So I was reading the script in the plane, actually. I started rehearsing my lines, and I came here, went straight to Whitefield. I hadn't been to Whitefield for ages.
Yeah.
I thought there were still farms there. I went past Whitefield. I saw buildings. I went off to Hoskote and asked somebody, "Whitefield Ellie there?" And they said it's gone back, long back. So I had to turn and come back and find Jagriti among all the buildings. And I said, "Wow, what has happened to Bangalore?" And then after that, I was doing back-to-back plays. I think in 5 years, I did some 13, 14
Oh,
plays.
interesting. Yeah. So
Yeah, so
you
we
were
did a
doing a
lot.
lot of work with Mahesh Dattani also.
With Mahesh, we did a lot of work. So Mahesh was writing, and Mahesh also at that time had met and contacted Alec Padamsi
Yeah.
in Mumbai. So we did
Mumbai.
Tara here. We did his play Tara, which was about conjoined twins. So I played the boy. I think I was about 30, 31 or 32. And I played a 16-year-old boy. So Mahesh called me and he said, "Sal, I want you to do this role." I said, "What role?" He said, "A 16-year-old kid." And I said, "Are you serious?" Because I'm like twice his age. He said, "No, no, you'll pass off, come." So it was great fun. And I also I remember there's a funny incident where I had to lift my jeans. And there's this neighbor's girl in the play who comes and she talks to me about, and I tell her about my leg and stuff. And I have a Jaipur leg, a prosthetic leg.
Okay.
And I'm supposed to pick up my jeans, lift my, pull up my jeans
And
and
show
show
her.
her my wooden leg and knock on it.
Yeah.
Now, how do we do that? And my legs were pretty hairy also. And then Mahesh said, we tried all sorts of different, to put all sorts of things on top and, different materials and this and that. It didn't work. Didn't look natural enough, like a leg and like a Jaipur leg. And then so what Mahesh said is, I think we'll have to shave your leg. I said, "What?" He said,
Wax.
"No, no,
Yeah.
theater ke liye, And we used to say, "Na,
कुछ
theater
भी
ke liye
करेगा.
jaan de dega, no, we chalo, leg
Yeah.
shave karo." And then for some reason, I said, "Look, just shave my one leg. I'm not going to allow you to shave both." I
One
don't know
leg.
why. I don't know why, but So after I had to walk around with shorts with one shaved leg and one Nigeria. It was too stupid and funny.
Hilarious.
Yeah. So
Interesting, very interesting. You can't
yeah.
forget
So
this. Yeah,
then we had done the Tara here, and then Alex said he wants to do Tara, and then he did a lot of shows. I think I had probably 40, 50 shows or something or more. I'm not sure. It was a big hit in Bombay, and Ali Padamsi was a name, a huge name. So it really did well. And then Mahesh started. We started. Then we did another play of Mahesh's called Bravely for the Queen, and then we traveled to Mumbai. We did it at the Sophia's College, Sophia Baba
yeah,
Auditorium, and it was a big hit. And I remember, so we wanted to book from Bangalore the Sophia Hall from here. So in those days, we had landlines, those
yeah.
dial phone, and we had to do a trunk call. And every time we'd call that place, if it was raining, then you had to sit the whole day, waiting for a call to that person to, the connection to happen. And sometimes that manager would pick up and then say, I'll see, you call me again after 2 days. I'll let you know the availability. And it was not happening, like 2 weeks, 3 weeks. And we said, we got to do this play, man. We got this cast together, we had rehearsed and everything. And then what we did was so Mahesh and I, we decided, we said, look, dude, it's not going to happen like this. I said, let's take off to Bombay. So we got onto a train. We went to Bombay just to book an auditorium. We stayed there for 3 days, loafed around, and then came back. And then went back with the whole cast and crew and carpenters and sets and everything in the train. And we went and we,
Set up
uh,
the
you
play.
know,
Yeah,
performed there. And it was good fun. So the journey and traveling by train and all, was. And also, when you travel for 2 days, you bond.
a lot of
With
bonding happens. Yeah,
the cast and the crew, a lot of bonding makes a lot of difference.
yeah.
When everybody's on the
The
same
the
platform and you
output of the
perform.
play
Yeah,
changes. Yeah,
and you can see it. You can actually
it's
see it.
yeah,
All that bonding that we did for 2 months of rehearsal, but in those 2, 3 days of bonding, staying there, it makes so much of a difference.
yeah. Wonderful.
So that was there. So we used to do a lot of plays. Uh, I did just after that I did a play called Dungaji House, which Ashish directed. Mahesh was in it. I was in it. Munira was in it, and it's a lovely play by a Parsi. It was about Parsis, about an elderly Parsi couple, written by a playwright, a Parsi playwright called Cyrus Mistry. So his brother is
Cyrus
quite
Mistry. Yeah,
famous, Rohinton Mistry.
yeah.
It was called Dungaji House. So I played a 16-year-old here, and my next play was a 70-year-old eccentric Parsi. So it was so that way, that so the other thing I wanted to talk about is working in the amateur theater space,
Yeah.
because there you can experiment, you can try out stuff. It's a big learning curve, compared to a professional space. And there's also a big debate about what is professional and what is amateur. You know, that's another subject
Yeah.
which can be discussed and debated. But on the surface, it's you get paid when you do a professional thing. There's also professional producers are there who take care of all the expenses. Actors are full time more or less. In that you're committed to do X number of plays, maybe 40, 50 plays. Whether amateur, you're working somewhere and it's your passion. So amateur, what else happens is to get people together again becomes tough. The cast together. If there's a
The
gap
mature
between
thing.
one show and another show.
Yeah.
So those are the challenges, but it's a great space to learn, to experiment, to fail. It's beautiful when you experience that, because you don't get that opportunity in a professional environment.
Yeah.
So that's what the advantage. So we were trying so many things, and experimenting, and I
So
think
what
that's
did
what
you do
helped
with
us
BLT?
grow. BLT, I think I did 1 or 2 plays with BLT. I was there as an actor's capacity. Though most of them were all my friends from the old days. So there's a friend of mine. Shekhar Sheshadri.
Yeah, yeah, very much. Yeah.
Doctor Doc
Dr.
So
Shekhar Shishar. Yeah.
yeah, so Shekhar's first play that he directed for BLT. It was a lovely play written by Peter Ustinov called Romanov and Juliet. It was a satire,
Romanov. Yeah.
on Romeo and Juliet. So it's set in some small town in Europe somewhere, a small place, country, and Romanov is the son of the American ambassador,
Okay.
and sorry, of the Russian ambassador, and Juliet is the daughter of the American ambassador, and they fall in love. And this is during the Cold War, so there's this no thing.
Okay.
And I played the spy there, spy to
Oh, yeah. Spy them. Yeah.
uh, yeah, this I'm a spy. I go back and tell them what's happening in this romance and stuff like that. I'm a mischief maker kind of thing. But it was a
Yeah. You
lovely, it was
caused trouble.
hilarious. We really did well,
Yeah.
and I think I did another play. So and then as an actor, I was doing a lot of acting for other groups as well. But once we got into Playpen, then we kind of got busy with Playpen and we concentrated on our plays. And then my dad wasn't well, and he also sorry, my dad had passed away, and then I had to go back to Dubai and look after some business. I think in '93 end or '94, yeah, I went off to Dubai, and uh, and then Mahesh was here for some years, and then he also moved off to Bombay, because Bombay is where a lot of things, the
Yeah.
opportunity for things to happen, and it really worked, beautifully for him. He did well. Ashish was here, still doing, not very often, but still doing plays under the name of Playpen. At least he
Yeah.
used to participate in the Deccan Herald Theatre Festival.
Yeah, for us as youngsters in college, I think Dance Like a Man was,
Yeah,
an epic play. And I
yeah. Do
remember,
you know?
yeah,
Yeah.
Ashok
Sorry, sorry.
Mandana was there in it.
Yeah, correct, correct.
Anjali Jaidev was the actress,
Yeah,
and there was a couple of others who are not coming up.
yeah,
But yeah, this was something which we used to like religiously book for every actor in Bangalore. One of the bucket list is one play on Deccan Theatre Festival.
yeah. And
Luckily,
yeah. Sorry, no,
yeah,
go
yeah.
go ahead, go ahead. Sorry. Huh.
No, luckily, two plays I have done in for the Deccan Theatre Festival and done bucket lists for
Yeah,
that
yeah,
part is done. Yeah,
yeah. There was a big event. It was an annual event where everybody
yeah,
was charged up to do,
yeah,
to do their stuff. Yeah, it was good fun. And the cast party where everybody's together, all
yeah,
groups
yeah,
of
yeah.
people.
Oh,
Great fun.
amazing,
And
amazing.
all of us knew each other, it was like
Yeah, small
everybody
town.
knew each. Bangalore was a small town in those
Yeah,
days.
yeah,
And even when we rehearsed, like there were people that gave their houses and villas, just come,
just
and
like that. Yeah,
schools, after,
yeah.
come and rehearse, like, just like that. Sorry, to do a Dance Like a Man, Dance Like a Man did its uh, 640th show or something
Just recently.
recently.
Yeah, I saw. I
640th
saw. I
show,
saw the post. Yeah, I saw the
which was
post.
incredible. Yeah, like amazing. Yeah, so then, yeah, so I came back and we did a lot of plays, and then I also did a couple of plays for the Deccan Herald Festival. Brought me back memories after so many years, and so Playpen did a play. Ashish directed it, and then Keerthan, Keerthan and Kunarak
Yeah,
directed.
Kirtan and Cookie. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, Cookie. They're also very old friends, and I did a few plays with them as well. We did a play called Retreating World, and last Tuesday there were two plays combined together as one, and we did it for the Deccan Herald Festival, I think 6 years back or something, and we took that play and we also went to Manipur with it, to Imphal. So that was a lovely experience going there. There was a Northeast Theatre Festival there, and we were the only English play there because most of
Oh,
them were
nice.
in regional languages, Naga
The
and
local language. Yeah,
Manipuri
yeah,
and all over there.
yeah.
And it was an awesome experience, doing a play there. And the audience was house full, and the audiences, most of them didn't understand the language, but they understood the play completely. Even the play, so they're also going through, you know, a lot of this what do you call that? It is there's unrest happening there, and in Manipur, and our play also was about Iraq and the war in Iraq. So it really kind of you know uh, it was drew a lot of parallels between what they were feeling and what they were
Action
going through.
on
So they
stage,
really,
yeah.
yeah, on stage, and it really did well. And yeah, and then I did a couple of my own plays which I had written. I did one called Take It or Leave It. It was a satire on corruption. So when I came back, I saw there was a lot of stuff happening here, and I wanted to put it up on stage. It was a fun play, but it was also underlining, the, 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 the underlying story was all about corruption, the context, which I needed to put out there. And I think a lot of us need to do that as well, because I was just talking to a lot of friends here, artist friends, and nowadays we see a lot of this, things were different than when we were growing up in Bangalore. We were very inclusive. Uh, Bangalore especially was very inclusive place.
Yeah.
Now there's a
One
lot
would
of us
prefer the other
versus
easily. Yeah.
yeah. Now there's a lot of us versus them hate kind of thing happening here, and I think we need to address that and counter that with as artists with our art, and with love and patience, and but at the same time, uh, you know ha- you know uh, counter it with whatever we're doing, writing, theater, films, music, whatever our
I
art
know.
is.
I mean, what you're saying makes so much sense because if you open the newspaper today, including students, they are pitted against each other with your costumes,
Exactly.
dress, and yesterday there was an article about parents coming to pick up and drop children should be dressed properly and there should be a code. Now it's getting into another debate where I was watching on Facebook. Clubs. Why do clubs have dress rule? I
Yeah.
mean, this is going
It's not going to end here.
everywhere.
So,
It's about hate. It's about how to pit against each
correct.
other. And
I
you're right.
feel
Theater
like,
also.
yeah, I feel theater should be taught in schools, all schools,
Yeah.
where at least there's, where people could start learning about what is empathy,
Yeah.
what is this other, this diversity. And I think that's very important at a young age for them to have awareness of what's outside there, because especially here we live in these closed communities most of the time. We don't know what's happening outside. Like you notice, there's a clear difference when people travel. People that have traveled, travel is a great
True.
experience. It's a great teacher. The
Yeah.
more you travel, the more this thing. So the more you go outside of your comfort zone or the outside of your bubble, is the more you know about other cultures and other communities and how other people are, and then you understand them and you say, hey, we're not so different. There might be a few things here and there, but they're not so different from us.
Yeah.
There's an old Bedouin saying, a tribal Bedouin saying, come live with us before you judge us.
Yeah.
So I think that's an important thing. So also
Yeah.
what
So,
happens is when we, yeah,
no, no, no.
please.
Continue, continue.
Yeah, so to do this, to do with theater again, and to do with when we write scripts, so what is important is when we write, I see a lot of plays and a lot of. The good thing is a lot of young people are now writing. There's so many small alternate spaces, where things are happening. Earlier, it was just a groups, just 6, 7, 8 groups doing theater, and like it was, they, you know, like they kind of own the
Yeah.
scene,
They own
the
theater.
theaters.
Yeah.
Yeah, now it's no more like that. It's I'm so glad that so many younger people are doing stuff in alternate,
Yeah. So
spaces,
we have
alternate
a school
theaters
prin-
happening.
we
Yeah,
have a school principal here who says introducing theater in schools would be a great way to enthuse students. Will help
awesome,
build socio-emotional intelligence.
awesome.
Absolutely, ma'am. Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah. I have another angle of Salmon I want to explore. The Salmon, who's an artist, who's a painter, who recently did an exhibition there. Tell us more about that part of your passion.
Yeah, so I used to paint in the sense not seriously. In school, we had art classes, so we used to paint. So we had a arts teacher. In Panchgani was a beautiful, place. The
Yeah,
landscapes there and the
the landscape.
mountains.
Yeah,
Every day was a different sunset. So we would be asked to go and sit there outside, and then just take our color pencils and sketch this sunset for
what
today.
you
Next
see.
day
Yeah,
again another. So you look
yeah,
at 30 days of sunsets, different sunsets on your different 30 pages. So that was there, and then we also had this geometry art classes, geometrical. So we had to do geometrical designs and
yeah.
color them differently. So maybe that's where I got this, my exposure to play with colors, which really helped me later. So I used to paint on and off, which was more like a therapy for me. Uh, then I came back to Bangalore. I used to paint in Dubai a bit, but I never had the chance to do much of it because I was very busy with business. And the little free time I was getting, I was doing theater. So when I came back here, I started painting again. I was also very busy with theater, but I was painting, but it was taking me a long time to paint. And I paint. That's why I chose to paint with oils because oils don't dry up fast, so I can still take time to
Yeah.
paint. Then I was painting and I started enjoying it, but I was just painting random stuff, you know. And then I said, look, I'm a writer. I do theater, and why don't I start telling stories in a frame, in one frame? So my paintings are, each painting is a whole bunch of stories of somebody I know, probably, many things I know about somebody, and that translates into a painting. So there lots of stuff comes
Nice.
in there. It's a process. It's like a writing a play kind or doing a play kind of process for me. It's not just painting something, looking at something and painting it. And it's very evolving and organic. So a lot of things change, and a lot of different. The canvas takes me on a journey on it by itself. And can you hear me, Prithvi?
I think looks like we are having a lot of technical
Okay.
issues in terms of
Sound.
network. There was no power the whole day in JP Nagar and
Okay.
Jayanagar. I'm not too sure about. So
Okay.
maybe something to do with that. But anyway, where do we get to see your paintings? Is there a page? Is there something where
Yeah,
all of
so
us can
I
see it?
have I've also just recently started an Instagram page called Art by
Okay,
Salmin Sharif. Art by Salmin
okay.
Sharif. Artby
Art by Salman.
Salmin. Yeah.
Okay, let's check whether is this it?
Yeah. So during the
Okay.
pandemic,
So
we were all stuck at home.
yeah,
There was no theater happening, nothing happening, and I didn't know what to do. We were all of us were like, what's going to happen now? Was this to stay, or all these lockdowns were happening. So that's when I said, I think it's time to pull out my canvases and go. So I painted a lot, in these last 2 years. And when I went to BIC to check about an auditorium, I mean, to the gallery space, and it was quite huge. So I looked at it and I got scared. I said, "Oh, it's too big for me. I don't think I'll be able to fill up the thing." I said, "Look, I'll get back
on
to
the
you."
wall.
Okay. Yeah, so I took measurements and all, and I came back, and you won't believe I pulled out enough paintings to fill up that gallery, and I,
Nice,
I
very
didn't
interesting.
realize
Yeah,
I'd painted so many paintings. So I wanted to do a thing just to get a feel. It was good. People came, and I got some good response from there. It really encouraged me to go ahead. I'm not
yeah.
a
Thanks.
trained
So
artist.
no,
I'm not a
I mean
trained artist, so because I remember I went to
that's
a gallery once to book
that's
a
again a
gallery.
debatable
Huh.
point of are trained artists only good or artists good
Correct. For any art, as a matter of fact.
for any
Because I
art
remember
as a
I
matter.
went to a gallery in Bangalore, And this person came out there, and it was the director of the gallery, and I said yes, and I said I want to inquire about you know doing a show in your gallery. And it was a known gallery because I kept watching, seeing it on Instagram and all that. And and the person said, "Have you gone to an art school?" I said no, and they said, "Then we won't do it," and just
Wow.
walked away. And I said, "Wow," I said, "Good luck to all the the millions of
Yeah.
artists who haven't gone to an art school."
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe from a commercial angle, they have a point where they won't sell otherwise. I don't know, whatever. But I guess that's
I don't
again
think
part of
so. I
it,
mean,
like because when you have a space, it's whether it's a theater space or an art gallery, it's also about encouraging people that haven't gone to school. Not everybody. I mean, okay, I'm privileged. I didn't go for whatever reason, but there are so many people who don't have the privilege to go to an
yeah.
art school.
So I'm going to take the line that she's saying. Sorry, I'm going to take the line that she's saying. It's the passion that matters. It's the same for the buyer. It's the passion of seeing what they want to see in the painting is what going to make them buy it.
Yeah.
Otherwise there are I know so many people whose drawing rooms and living rooms have MF Hussains, and
Yeah.
you ask them what's it all about, they'll say let's have dinner. So
I think we will
that's a
pick up a
topic we
painting
should talk about.
also.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's something you pick up where you put it on your wall where you enjoy it. You've picked it up
Yeah.
because it stirs something in you, or you want to
Yeah.
watch it every day because it's going to be on your wall for I don't know how long. So it doesn't matter who's
Yeah.
done it, but as long as it's got that thing. But I guess yeah, a lot of people want to. I remember going there and somebody had come to an exhibition, not mine, another exhibition, and picked up two paintings and was asking the person there, and who was hosting that. He says, "Which one's going to fetch me more money after like 5 years?" And the person says, "I have no clue."
Yeah.
So it
Okay, so
depends
I'm
on
going
what
to
your
take a small
objective is.
yeah,
Yes.
absolutely. I'm going to take a small break so that I'll give you time to go and get a little bit of chai or water, and we will
Cool.
show a small video of the finest side. I'm
Sure.
sure you've seen it. You can also see it again.
Wonderful to see this venue come alive. The sound was great, acoustics were great. Thanks a lot to the Finer Side.
I mean, what can I say about this place? It's such an inspiration for all artists like me, and I feel like coming and again and performing here.
ಗ್ರೇಟ್ ಪ್ಲೇಸ್, ಗ್ರೇಟ್ ವೈಬ್, ಗ್ರೇಟ್ ಪೀಪಲ್. ಈ ಜಾಗ ಈ ತರ ಕಲ್ಚರಲ್ ಸೆಂಟರ್ಸ್ ಆಗಿ ದೊಡ್ಡದಾಗಿ ಬೆಳಲಿ ಅಂತ ನಾನು ಆಶಿಸ್ತೀನಿ.
ಬಹಳ ದಿನಗಳಾದ್ಮೇಲೆ ಒಂದು ಒಳ್ಳೆ ಜಾಗಕ್ಕೆ ಬಂದಿದ್ದೀನಿ. ಆ ಜಾಗದ ಹೆಸರು ಅಷ್ಟೇ ಚೆನ್ನಾಗಿದೆ, ದಿ ಫೈನರ್ ಸೈಡ್ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿ. ತುಂಬಾ ಅದ್ಭುತವಾಗಿ ಒಂದು ಜಾಗನ ಬಿಲ್ಡ್ ಮಾಡಿದ್ದಾರೆ.
This beautiful auditorium, it's very inspiring to see how it has been designed for the sake of arts.
ಚಿನ್ನ ಚಿತ್ರ ಬೆಳ್ಳಿ ಕಟ್ಟು ಬಂಗಾರ ಬಣ್ಣದ ರೂಪ ಚಿನ್ನ ಬೆಳ್ಳಿ ಸೇರ್ಕಂಡಾಗೆ ನನ್ ಗಂಗೆ ರೂಪ
बहता है मन कहीं कहाँ जानती नहीं बहता है मन कहीं यूं ही बरस बरस गए घटा बरसे हम यार भीग जाए इस चाहत की
everyone. It was a lovely music meet and I thoroughly enjoyed. And I am looking forward for many such lovely programs. Thanks to TFS, and I'm hoping to be coming here again and again.
Well, that's a little bit of what we have been doing since the past uh, 8, 9 months. And thanks to the second lockdown, we had to slow down a bit. And meanwhile, we decided to do a little renovation at the space and make it a little more better. Uh, uh, you've seen the place. You had come there for the flea market.
Yeah, it's a lovely space.
Yeah.
I think a lot can happen in that space because there's so much of space. There's an amphitheater there. There's so much. I mean,
Classrooms and yeah.
yeah, that's a beautiful space. I think.
Yeah, it's open to all people like you to come and explore.
Yeah.
Now, coming to another thing that you do, which I know very well, is your filmmaking. You do very strongly add films, and you write scripts. And tell us a little bit about that.
So in Dubai, I had an ad agency. I wasn't doing films though. We were doing the regular advertising, branding,
Print ads, yeah.
print ads, and branding and stuff like that. But I was exposed to movies and cinema from quite some time. Like I used to do ad films and as an actor,
Yeah.
Stuff like that. But somehow, as an actor, films, especially the Indian films, the Bollywood films, didn't kind of appeal to me that much. It was a very different ball game in those days. You had to be a certain way to be that chocolate hero, and and do those things that an actor was required to do, a hero was required to do, and I somehow it didn't fit in that thing. So I just stuck to theater. I said this is not for me, and I just let it go. Then I did a few short films and independent films in Dubai over there, on and off. And then when I came back to Bangalore, we were all struggling with funding theater, funding our plays because we don't get sponsors. Theater hardly gets any sponsors. Very difficult, tough to get sponsors. So, and I was putting my own money in it, and I was losing money. And then I started getting calls from Bollywood because I knew some people there, and they knew me. They knew I was an actor. And initially I said no, I'm not interested. Also the roles were very, most of the roles nowadays, they want me to play some terrorist, to go and blow up something somewhere. And I said, oh, you catch somebody else for all that. And that kind of stuff. And so then I said, look, if the role's okay and the pay is okay, why don't I do it? And I can use that money for theater or, to fund some other art, or I can put it to use. And then I started accepting some roles. So I did some 4-5 films in the last 3 years, 3-4 years. You go for a few days, do that thing, and you come back, and you've got some money.
Back to this, yeah.
But you can at least fund a play with that, with the one step forward.
Interesting.
So I started doing that, but then I also so here I started some advertising here as well to keep busy because something else to keep doing, and I had that experience. So there's a company called Akarta which we started. Me and there's a partner called Santosh. He's a young person who lives very close to me, and he wanted me to join him. I said fine. So I joined in as a mentor, and it's doing pretty well. And this thing. So I'm good at scripting. So I started scripting all these, ad films.
Yeah.
Trying to bring the storytelling into it. So that was because that's my strength, bringing a story into it and engaging an audience and bring some meaning into it. Because I see a lot of ads, and a lot of ads weren't making sense to me, because I remember in the old days, 70s, 80s, you saw an ad, you knew what it was for.
Yeah.
You have a cough, that cough syrup was a glycodine or whatever for your cough. Surface to wash your clothes. Saridon, you have a tale now, you take Saridon. Now I see an ad, I don't know till the end what it's for. Is it for a watch? Is it for a car? Is it for some fashion clothing? Is it for a
You
bag?
don't know until the
Because
end
somebody
comes. You
bill,
don't know.
whatever, and somebody's.
Yeah.
So I said, let's bring some storytelling into it, and it's working well. So I've been making. You acted in one of them, a short one,
Yeah.
in the thing. So that's been happening, and eventually, yeah, I want to make a film, something that's thought provoking, something that sends a message across to, to younger people, to children, over here, that kind of, makes them think and say, hey, look, this, let's make this a better place.
Yeah.
So I want to make a film, and I know how to go about it now. I just have to sit and the other thing about writing, whether you're writing a play or a responsible play or a script or a film, so much is changing today because of, we have this exposure, we so much information coming in from social media. So every day there's some new information coming out.
Yeah.
So you start writing something on a subject, and the next thing is there's more coming out, and you say, where do I stop? I need to involve or include that as well into the subject. Like, there's the transgender, LGBTQI plus, a big thing, gender, women's rights. There's so much happening today from all over the world, and some of my friends are doing that. I'm so glad. Like, Sharanya Ramprakash did a play called Nava. I don't know if you've seen it, with 9 transgender
Heard
women
about it, yeah.
performing. It was beautiful. Their experiences. It's not actors playing. It was them
Different
telling
story.
their
Yeah, it was
story.
them telling their stories. Yeah.
Yeah, and there's Ravi Kumar. They also do this playback theater, which is also awesome. There's so much happening there. Stories, live stories. They engage with the audience, and the audience tell them about a subject, and they enact it, live on the spot. So there's stuff happening there. People are doing that, and I think again we need to get that information and awareness across in classrooms and to young little students.
No, that's a strong message for today. I think we are also almost towards the end of this chat. I wish we can do, because we have a 60-minute block that we
Sure.
want to wind it up with. So thanks, Salmin. Thanks for joining us. Thanks everyone
Thanks
who
so much.
has come by. Yeah.
Prithvi, I hope it didn't come out as too much of gyan
No, no,
giving.
no. We were just
I
sharing
just
our
felt it's
information.
important,
Yeah.
with so much
Yeah,
happening
yeah,
now.
yeah,
we
yeah.
can
It's
talk
very
about.
important. All of us really like what you said. It's more about how we can coexist, also learn in the process.
Yeah.
There's no you, me, us. Should all
Correct.
be us together. So yes, thanks once again, and
Thanks
look
so much,
forward to
Prithvi.
seeing you at the finer side doing
And all
some
the
work
best
together.
with Finer Side, and we definitely must do something there. Again.
Sure.
Thanks
Thank
so
you.
much.
Bye,
Thank you.
bye,
Thanks everyone
everyone.
for coming for this.
Yeah, and art
This
by
talk.
Salmin Sheriff Instagram page. Please take a look. Check. If you like something, call him. Yeah.
Okay.
Bye.
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 Good night.